Hello and welcome to the Sports Show with Bob Spino, where it's that time of year here on the Sports Show. We have our NHL Playoff experts. Mr. E and Kip are about to join us soon. We also have John joining us and possibly Tony. So, Bob, your
Yeah.
impressions of the NHL season before I open it up to our guests. We have Mr. E here with us already. How are you, sir?
How are you doing,
I'm doing
Mr.
great.
E? Nice
I'm
seeing you
doing
again.
great. Yeah, great to see you again, too.
We didn't do a show last year. I just want to touch on that first before we do anything. My Bruins, and the year before when we did, I was saying that we don't have a good ownership. We're not doing this, and all of a sudden everything clicked. And I went down to Philadelphia and watched them break that Canadian record. And somebody in the upper deck, an old lady, went, "I hope you lose in the first round." And sure as heck we did. The only team I didn't want to play that year was Florida, and we drew them because they gave us fits all year, and we should have won. There's no excuse. We did break the Canadians record. My brother's a Canadians fan. I love that. But he was like, well, at least we still won when we did it. But this year we're not as good. I think the Rangers have kind of taken that spot over. They're awful tough, and I didn't even realize that Mike Quick was the backup goalie. He won with the Kings. He was great, a few years back. So they're stacked. They can score. They can stop you. They're tough. Um, the only other one I can see that's really, really has a chance in the East, anyways, the team that no one talks about, and that's Carolina. I mean, they're a bustle every year. They're great again this year. I mean, they had a great record, and they can beat you. You think you're going to beat them, and they just beat you. They're always right there. They're hard out. And in the West, well, I mean, there's a lot of good teams. I mean, there's Dallas, Vancouver, Winnipeg. They're all good. Colorado, who won a couple years ago. But the NHL, you never know what's coming. It's not like basketball; you could figure it out real quick. Um, it's not like the other sports. Home ice means something, but not everything like, being at home in the other sports does. I know, hey, I hope Tampa Bay, and I know you love them, Mr. E. I hope they beat Florida so freaking bad. I'll go there and help you if I can. I just want to see, I want to get even with those guys, you know. But
I don't know. Florida's real tough this year, though.
yeah, they're actually better this year
And
than they
they've
were
got and they've
last.
got a lot of depth, and that, in the playoffs, that depth matters unbelievably much. So,
Right.
you know, um, as much as I would love for my team to win, I I don't know. I think it's going to be a war. That first round series to me between the Lightning and the Panthers is going to be an all out war. Um, both of those teams can play a real heavy game, and I think Florida has the depth edge, and I think that's probably going to matter. Although in my bracket, I went full homer and decided to go with my team at least until I thought they'd lose to Carolina. But
Right.
So
Yeah,
again, yeah, how do you feel about the Lightning overall in their prospects of the playoffs this year in comparison to the last couple years?
well, I think they're coming into the playoffs relatively hot. If you look at their records since the trade deadline, it really ramped up. They rounded into shape. Um, I think there's cause for concern when it comes to depth on defense. I don't think they have as much depth as they have previously had. I do think Vasilevsky is capable of stealing a series or two along the way. And I think that the scoring is really where Tampa kind of gets you, but their depth scoring isn't what it has been. So, again, if the Panthers can find a way to shut down Lions 1 and 2, then I think the Panthers come out on top in that one.
So John, you did obviously New Jersey unfortunately didn't make it. Who do you like in the playoffs yourself personally? Who do you want to win? Forget who do you think's going to win.
I wore the devil's stuff because I've got no dog in this fight right now. Obviously we have our rivals in there and stuff like that. So, I can't sit here and tell you that I'd like to see the Rangers win because, I get destroyed. But I think that Florida Tampa Bay series is going to be incredible, and either of those teams are certainly capable of going all the way. The West is very strong this year. I think, Dallas, they weren't expected to be the number one seed in that bracket there at all starting the season. So, but they've got a tough path ahead of them with Vegas. I mean, I love Vegas as a West team. I've loved them since they came into the league. I thought they did a great job organizationally building that team and just, their play style is fun to watch. And so, personally, I'd probably lean to them in the East. I mean, probably whoever comes out of that Tampa Bay Florida series is who I'd be rooting for if I was rooting, but I'm just here to see good hockey. And it seems like there's a lot of it with these matchups.
Yeah, let's really talk about that because I really like the matchups this year. I think that Boston and Toronto series is a real throwback to like the earlier, to the earlier eras. And I think it's shaping up to be a good series. I'm concerned about Toronto's goaltending. I'll flat out say that. I think they have the edge in scoring. I
Yeah.
think the Bruins have the edge in goaltending and probably defense. I think coaching is probably a wash in that series. Um, so I could see that going seven. And I'm sorry, but I gotta go against the Leafs on this one because the goaltending is
I'm a
just
Bruin fan, so
so
don't be sorry.
inconsistent.
I'm a Bruin fan, so don't be sorry. But you know what? Toronto's funny. Like you watch them sometimes and they can beat the whole world, and other times they look so beatable. I mean, Florida messed them up too. People forget that after they beat Boston. So I don't know what their deal is.
Well, the thing is Toronto kind of struggles playing a heavier game,
Right.
right? They I mean they can play that style, but I don't know. It comes down to me whether or not you can shut down, the top lines for Toronto because they don't really have depth scoring,
Right.
right? So that's kind of my take on that series.
Well, I like your pick. Needless to say. Um, by the way, Mr. E, this is John. He's the other co-host, and he's kind of new at this. So I just want to introduce you guys.
Yeah, sure. Great to meet you. John, what do you think about that Toronto Boston series?
Nice to meet you as well, Mystery. I think that's gonna be a fun series. Like you said, that's got the throwback nature, the old school teams there. I don't think Toronto's going to be able to handle Boston for a whole series. I could see if it was like maybe a 3 game series. I mean, they might even be able to, sweep close to sweep, but it's going to be tough. I think Boston's got more depth. I mean, they've got a lot more, playoff experience with the guys there and stuff like that. I mean, even though, they're missing a key veteran piece in Bergeron, I would take them possibly in 4 or 5 if Bergeron was still on that team. But without his veteran leadership and ability to face off and play that two-way game, I think Toronto's definitely got a chance. But yeah, the goaltending is far superior on the Boston side, and I think the defense is superior there too. And really in the playoffs, it seems like that ends up being more of a defensive type of game than we see in the regular season. So I'd give the edge to Boston there.
Well, and I think it also, in the playoffs, it benefits to have a heavier team, right? So I think I don't know if you can play a heavier grinding style, I think the edge will always be sort of on the team there. It's not to say like a bad bounce here or there can change a series, but I think overall, I'm most of the time going to pick the heavier team.
Well, you look at like the history of those flashier style teams. They usually don't make it very far. I mean, they usually aren't the ones that come out on top. I mean, I think the Oilers is always a team that's put up big numbers and stuff like that, and they've got some of the best forwards in the world and everything, and they're a lot more flashy with that, but they never come out on top. I mean, it took them so long to get to this point where they're, every year a playoff team. And, you've seen they've started to add more of that, grinding style of players there, guys that can hit and stuff like that and really, throw their weight around, like you said. And, I think that's another series. I think the Oilers might be in trouble as well because of that style of play. Not to mention Connor McDavid's kind of limping into the playoffs here.
So you
Sure.
don't like Western hockey, John, because that's a wide open hockey, and it does win a lot. With all due respect, Wayne Gretzky taught me that when he was a kid, when he first got in the league. It does win, and it can beat Eastern hockey, which is a lot tougher and a lot slower. But you know what? I just think that Edmonton, when they got McDavid, there's a reason they got him. They had a high draft pick, that number one pick. They were pretty terrible. They just need to build a little more around them, and now they have. And so we'll see how it goes. I mean, it's going to, they're tough. So I don't know if they're going to come out of there because there's other tough teams as well. But Western hockey can win. I mean, I believe in offense in every sport. So I'm not saying defense is bad, or I know it's important, but it's important because offense is what you have to stop, and offense is more important in my mind.
Well,
So
I
I'm
think
just
more so.
go ahead.
Go ahead, Rob. Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Mystery.
I was going to say, I also think possession is like a big part of the game now, right? It's not something that historically has been the case, but I think if you can hold on to the puck and keep the other team away from the puck and make them play at you as opposed to, play in your zone, I think teams that can play that style, where they can keep the puck away, do pretty well. And I think Vegas kind of exemplified that last year. Like that was, their playoff game was a possession driven game.
And of course, it was all tainted because Boston would have won it if they got there. Okay, but anyway, because we were by far the best team,
Hey,
and I'm
hey, hey,
still
Bob. I'm just telling you right now. I got Boston winning the whole thing. By the way, so for the
that,
record,
that's why I
Yeah,
love
you missed out
Rob.
on Dallas. I got Dallas winning the
You
whole
really have
thing.
Boston winning, Rob? Really?
I do. I think it's one of those situations. Well, not that the two sports have much in common, but I've seen in basketball where a team that had all the hype, all the expectation, flamed out quick, only to follow up with a championship the next year. So I'm gonna say that Boston's gonna do that this year.
Oh, thank you for that, Rob. That's really great. I hope you're
Am
right.
I? Did you guys hear me?
Yeah,
Uh,
we don't see you though, Kip,
yeah,
I don't
you
know
got.
why. Oh fuck.
but we can hear you.
Yeah, I think
So
Boston has no shot to win the cup. I think it's a ridiculous take.
who has no
Um,
shot?
Hey, Kip.
Boston Bruins have no shot to win the Stanley Cup. The Parker Witherspoon is the number 6 defenseman. He could have made the Islanders. Not a bad player. Has some size and some talent at the blue line, but he's your number 6. How are you winning the Stanley?
Did you think they were going to win going in last year, Kip? Because they were awful good.
You know what? I learned my lesson. I thought, you know what? I went with the magical Hollywood story where they won in Fenway when they had the outdoor game in 2011 when they won the cup.
Mm-hmm.
They had the outdoor game in Fenway that year, so I'm thinking they had the outdoor game last year again. That they were going to do the same thing, and I didn't really like anyone in the East last year, so I did pick them to go to the finals. But I don't think they're as good this year. No Patrice
Well,
Bergeron.
of course they're not because two of their stars retired, definitely. But you know
Right.
what?
So I think picking. I don't think. I think they can win the first round. I think they will win the first round. I will be picking them in the first round in 7 games. Tight series, but I don't think they're going to get past the second round.
Look, I'm a Bruins fan, and I agree with you. Now, I
And
remember.
they have good goaltenders. I'll give them that.
Oh yeah, they do. But I remember last game of the year, it came down to us playing either Florida or the Islanders, and I was praying it was the Islanders. We'd have mauled you. And but it came down to Florida, and when I heard that, I'm like, oh no, because Florida actually handled us pretty well during the season last year, and I did not want to draw them. And sure as heck, we did, and they beat us. They shouldn't have.
So
I mean,
Kip,
it went overtime.
enlighten us with the appropriate take. Who do you got winning this thing?
Yeah.
You know, I have to stick with my guns from the beginning of the year. It's probably not going to be the popular pick. But I think we're going to see a rematch of last year's. Nobody wants to see two warm teams final. I'm very confident Florida's going to be there. I think they're the cream of the crop of the East. They have just about everything. Hopefully, their defense doesn't hurt them, stays healthy enough to get them to the final. They should be all right. They're a strong group, great coach, and I think they have the timely scoring for sure for Hagee and Reinhardt and Kachuk to get back to the final. And I know nobody's picking Vegas. I don't know why. I mean, I understand why. They haven't played that well this year. They've had injuries, but a champion can turn it up. I mean, you remember the 95 Houston Rockets. There's many examples. Team can turn it up once they get to the playoffs. The Kansas City Chiefs just did that. I believe Vegas will turn it up. They own Dallas. It will be an upset, I guess, if they won. I know everyone's going to pick Dallas. Dallas should win considering what's gone on this season, and they're really not like, they're not they're not that much worse at all than Vegas. They have actually probably even more scoring than Vegas at this point. I mean, they have some of the best young players in the game. So picking Dallas to go to the finals, I think, is a very respectable pick. I think I'm going to take Vegas in this series, in an upset, I guess, if you want to call it that. And I think they're going to ride it back to another final. And I got, I got Vegas, Florida. I think it could be anybody's series.
We'll see what happens. Tony, have you followed the hockey this year at all? You have any takes on how the season went and who do you like in the playoffs?
Well, the season went really sad for the Montreal Canadiens.
Oh.
And I don't know when they're ever going to get back to the Stanley Cup and get back to the form of their greatness over the history of hockey. And I want to get them and the Yankees back into their greatness again. Start winning again at a very high level. The Bruins, they don't have enough scoring to win it. I really I like Edmonton. I actually like the Maple Leafs. They might knock out the Bruins, in this first round. They were picked pretty high all year. They were picked going into the season as being one of the best teams. And they've kind of, they're well overdue for a Stanley Cup. I mean, my goodness. They haven't won one since I can't even remember back in the 40s, maybe 40 some years ago, maybe 50 years ago.
Didn't they win in the 1960s? Didn't they win in the 60s?
I think 67.
Yeah, 67, right.
67.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a while ago.
Yeah, I remember it.
Yeah. And let's see. I tell you, Vancouver's got a good team. They have a very good team. I've seen them play a few times, but hockey's a very, very a tough sport to pick because home ice really doesn't matter in a lot of these series,
right.
Especially in Game 7. The visiting team can win in Game 7 on the road. I think because the fans aren't right on top of the court like in basketball. I think the officiating is better than the NBA. They don't favor certain teams and certain players. I think you got to get out there on that ice. I've always said I thought it was the hardest sport to play. You're going pucks 100 miles an hour. You're on two blades. You're flying around. You're getting your body checked into the boards. I just think the hottest goalie will take their team a really long way. I don't see Vegas repeating. I'm not sure Florida either could get there to the finals. The thing you have to remember is the teams who go all the way to the finals, win or lose, they're more tired when it comes to this time of the year than the teams who lost early in the playoffs.
Yeah, well, you're talking like
more time off.
Yeah, you're talking 25, 30 extra games, and that causes wear for sure.
Yeah.
The human body can only take so much, and with
right.
with the deep runs from the Lightning, I have seen that sort of thing play out, over the past several seasons. So, last year they were just out of gas, and they still, even out of gas, took Toronto to seven. So, I mean,
I I think to see last year, I mean, Boston, I'm going to remind all of you, Boston set all these records last year, and they walked away with the best record. They broke the Montreal Canadiens, best record at home, best record, most wins ever in a regular season. But the big difference was when that happened, Montreal won the Stanley Cup. The Boston Bruins didn't get past the first round.
well, I mean, it's been a thing in the modern era, right? With the President's Cup
Yeah,
curse, right?
yeah.
So, I mean,
Yeah, I don't believe
that's
in it.
well, you don't believe in it, but how many
Yeah, but
times
the
have
stats proven it. That's proved it. Honestly,
But there have been enough teams that have won the President's Trophy, including, unfortunately, the Rangers in '94.
Mhm.
And a lot of people think the Rangers are going to do it again because they won the President's Trophy
Right.
30 years later. And the whole thing with OJ, it's kind of coming together. They played the Capitals in the second round that year, so they won in 5 games. So, I mean, if you look at that, I mean, but again, I thought the Bruins were going to maybe do it last year based on that type of nonsense, and it didn't work. So,
Yeah,
it's a tough pick this year with the West, especially.
Kip, do you think the Rangers are going to win this year? You don't?
I do not. I think
Why?
their transition defense, they let the Islanders take them.
Yeah.
I mean, their transition defense is kind of weak. They need Igor Shesterkin
Correct.
Johnny Quick to really excel. Could they
Mhm.
do that? Yeah. Will that be enough? Maybe. They have some great scoring. They're very fast. They're great in the power play. They're great in the penalty kill. They have one of the better special teams. But in their own zone, their defense, and from the defensive standpoint, is not that great. Vegas overcame it last year and won the cup, but I don't know if the Rangers have that. And I also saw teams who decided to play physical, like the Islanders, who needed to get into the playoffs last week, play a physical game at Madison Square Garden. And I really don't think the Rangers handled it all that well. Islanders had 2 posts. I thought the Rangers got very lucky or fortunate to even get 1 point in that game, let alone two. So I think the Rangers, you just don't have to be scared of them and you'll beat them. As long as you aren't scared of them and their speed and their finesse, you will beat them. You just have to take their game back to them and hit them in the mouth. And I think a number of teams could beat the Rangers. It's not just one or two teams.
You think Carolina can?
Carolina will.
See, I agree with you.
I agree with you there too,
Carolina
kid.
will.
I got that pick.
I picked the Islanders over. I picked Carolina over the Islanders last year in 6. I picked the Devils over the Rangers last year in 7. So I got those right. I believe the Islanders will also lose again this year in 6. Wouldn't shock me if it's 5. Wouldn't shock me if it's 7. The Islanders are one of the more unpredictable teams, maybe in sports right now.
Yeah.
But the interesting series to me are out west. I think the Rangers. I'd love to see Washington win. I know they can injure some Rangers. They can hit. They can take a game or two. I just don't think they have enough scoring to win to beat the Rangers 4 times. I thought if the Penguins made the playoffs, they would beat the Rangers. They would upset them. I think in 6 or 7 games, strong possibility, and tire them out. But I think the Rangers will move on 5 or 6. And they'll play Carolina in the second round. And I think Carolina, I just think they look good this year.
They are good.
I'm going rematch. I'm going Florida, Carolina, Eastern Conference rematch. People don't want to see those Southern teams, but that's where I'm going. Rematch last year.
Now, how about the dark horse? Do you guys, what team is the
Oh,
one
it's a great
no one's
question.
talking about that could legitimately make a run?
I got Colorado.
I
Colorado?
don't.
Yep.
I don't.
You must justify this statement here, John. Why did Colorado could be a potential? How could they be a potential dark horse?
Well, I mean, I'm looking at their matchup this time around, and Winnipeg. They're pretty new to the playoffs here. Hellbuck's not been playing his, top goalie in the league standard lately. I mean, their backup's been playing a heck of a lot better, and they keep forcing Connor out onto the ice there. They've given up a lot of goals lately. They don't look like the same team that they were coming hot out of the gate to start the year. I think Colorado can take them pretty easily. And then it just depends on the next round. I mean, if they're playing, Dallas and Vegas are going to beat up on each other. I think they can take whoever's coming out of there. Series could easily go 7. They can come out of there, tired and beaten up on each other. So
Avs
I
just
think
lost 7-0 to Winnipeg. Just saying.
it's fine. They just got to get hot. The goalie's got to get hot. Georgiev's not been as good this year as he was last year, but he's still got it in him. He's still a top goalie in the league. I mean, they still have the offensive firepower.
They have the big three.
Yeah.
They have
So
three of the top 10 players in the league. Let's be honest.
yeah, there's a lot of inexperience in the West
Yeah.
this year, and because of that, I like Vegas to beat Dallas. I like Colorado to beat Winnipeg. I mean, I like LA to beat Edmonton. Even I think that they could do it. So I don't think it's going to be as difficult of a road
What
as
about Nashville, Vancouver? I think Nashville, Vancouver might be one of the better series this year. People aren't probably going to talk about it much, but that could go either way, in my opinion. I think it's going 7, and I think it's going to go down to the third period overtime in Game 7. That's my prediction for
So
that.
you think Vancouver's going to
I don't know.
Nashville out?
Still undecided. What?
So do you think Vancouver will take Nashville out?
I think it's like I said, it's going to go to 7 games. It's going to be anybody's game. I think Soros is a really good goalie, can get hot.
Okay, but who are you leaning towards?
But Vancouver,
Who are you leaning towards?
like I said, I think it's that close. I think it's a coin flip series.
Okay.
I think it's that close. It's really that close.
Okay.
I'm going to go. I haven't decided there. I'm going.
I've
Winnipeg.
got
I'm going Winnipeg.
Yeah, I'm curious, Mr. E, who's your dark horse?
I've got Nashville picked as my dark horse, to be honest, because
Yeah.
I think they can do it, and I think if they get past that first round, I think it's pretty open for them to do it because of the way that they're playing right now.
I agree.
They're one of the hotter teams.
It wouldn't shock me to see Nashville play them.
Right.
What about you, Tony? You got a surprise pick that's going to come out of nowhere and shock the world?
It's pretty rare that an 8 seed wins the whole thing, and it does happen from time to time. I don't see the Kings going very far. I really like this Dallas team, and they're really good. I mean, they're really good. I think they're a team that people really aren't giving them a lot of respect. I think they're really good. I think they could wind up in the finals. There's no question about it. But I want to say this about the Islanders. Last year, they really got hot. They played really tough in the playoffs. And it's almost duplicate again this year with the Islanders. They just made the playoffs, and they've been playing really well here towards the end. And now they're going into the playoffs. And I think they're going to be a tough out again because it seems like they know when to turn it on, and they turn it on just enough to make the playoffs. And then in the playoffs, they take it to another level, and they're just a tough team to beat in the playoffs. I think over a long course of the long season, along with injuries, here again, I'll mention injuries.
Which they have.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And that's why I mentioned it. You get everybody healthy. You start playing really well. You gain some confidence. You go in and beat the Rangers, who've had probably the best record in the East almost all year. They've been right there.
Period.
And watch out for the Islanders.